Floyd Burdick and Minnie Saunders met in their hometown of Albion, Wisconsin, located 27 miles southeast of Madison. They married in 1884 and had 4 children. 3 survived to adulthood. By 1900, the family had moved to Chicago and were attending the Chicago No. 8 Corps. In 1904, Floyd and Minnie attended the Chicago Training Garrison and received their commissions as Salvation Army officers. Their initial appointments were to Corps in Texas. Their daughters, Grace and Cecil, followed in their parents' footsteps. Grace was commissioned in 1908, and Cecil received her officer training during World War I as a member of the Salvation Army's War Service. When the Salvation Army responded to the call for overseas volunteers in World War I, Floyd, Minnie, and Cecil were among the first Salvationists to sail for France. Grace left the work in 1910 and married William Yates in 1915. As her parents and sister sailed to France, Grace and William were expecting their first child. Floyd and Minnie's son, Elmer, also went to France as a member of the United States Army Signal Corps. When the armistice was signed in November 1918, Elmer received his discharge and went to join his parents and sister in their war service work. Floyd and Minnie were quickly nicknamed Pa and Ma by the soldiers because of their dedication to the troops overseas. They were known by these terms of endearment for the rest of their lives. During her World War I service, Minnie was best known for her pies that she baked 2 at a time in an oven Floyd constructed. Minnie held the baking record of 324 pies in one day under enemy artillery fire. For her perseverance in baking pies and conducting gospel services under German shell fire, she received the prestigious honor, the Croix de Guerre, from the French government. In a wartime letter to National Commander Evangeline Booth, Minnie noted that her war service was the most important thing she had done in her life. Scrapbook of newspaper clippings and memorabilia related to World War I service. The Burdicks' eldest daughter, Grace, remained with her husband and child in Texas during World War I. Grace collected newspaper articles about her family's adventures overseas and stored them in a shoebox. When her parents returned home, Grace presented them with a shoebox filled with articles from around the country. Those articles were later pasted into a series of scrapbooks that chronicled this adventure of a lifetime. Grace's Women's Training College Diary, 1908. The Burdick's eldest daughter, Grace, attended the Women's Training Garrison, as it was called in those days, for her training to become a Salvation Army officer. Her diary records stories about her experience, what she learned in class, favorite Bible passages, and memories of the boyfriend she left behind in Texas. All typical experiences for a young woman who has gone away to school. Saunders Burdick Family Bible. Part holy text, part memory album, this family Bible from Minnie's childhood chronicles the family's faith in God and memorabilia from moments in her life. Inside the pages are stored film negatives, cards, clippings of the family's hair, dozens of pressed flowers and leaves, a scrap of lace, Cecil's homework assignment, and more. Minnie's rolling pin and World War I donut cutter. Family lore holds that this rolling pin belonged to Minnie and possibly dates to her time in France. The donut cutter was made during World War I for Minnie by an American soldier. It is made from brass artillery casings and lead solder. The handle is engraved, "From C.F. Evans to Mother Burdick." After the war, Floyd and Minnie continued as Salvation Army officers with several breaks between appointments. The couple's appointments included various Texas Corps, the Chicago South Side Settlement, and the Gulf Division Fresh Air Camp. The bulk of their Salvation Army career and married life was spent in Texas, which was part of the Department of the West and later the Central Territory through 1927. Minnie was promoted to glory in 1937 and Floyd in 1946. While at home with her family, Grace sought out newspaper articles that detailed the war service of her parents, sister, and brother. When they returned home, Grace presented her parents with a shoebox full of newspaper articles. The Burdicks had no idea that anyone in the States knew what they were doing in France or that they cared. The Burdicks and all the Salvation Army War Service workers never expected to arrive home as national heroes. Grace and William Yates had 2 children together before Grace was promoted to glory in 1934. Like many of the Salvationists and soldiers who served overseas during the war, Cecil and her parents brought home trunks of souvenirs as remembrances of their time in France. Cecil left the work shortly after the war and resumed her previous career as a telephone operator. She married Archie Goodwin in 1922, and they had 1 child together, Fern Ann. Cecil worked as an assistant in the Houston Public Schools Vocational Department and later in the University of Texas Extension Division. She was promoted to glory in 1947. After the war, Elmer returned to his wife and 2 children in Texas and resumed his duties as a mail carrier, eventually working for the railway. Elmer was promoted to glory in 1961. Thank you for spending time with the Central Territory Museum today. We hope that you have enjoyed meeting and spending time with the Burdick family.